It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Andres Urbina, the Los Angeles Dodgers minor league pitching coach. How are you doing today?
Good, Brandon. Thank you for having me here today.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to work in professional sports as a coach?
Sure. My career started as a minor league pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I had good qualities back then as a person, but never as a pitcher, actually. I wasn't very, very good. So those qualities of leadership made them see what I had to offer as a coach. And my last season, they offered me a position as a coach, and I took it. It was a little bit difficult because that was not in my plans, but I saw that I had the potential to be a good coach for them. So I took it, and it's been 4 years.
Can you talk about, of course, what it was like transitioning over from being a player to a coach now?
It was a little bit difficult because at the level I started at was with the guys that I played with the years past. So to earn that trust as a coach, now that they see you differently, you're not around them all the time, and now you have this kind of authority. It's a little bit difficult, but I think always putting first the respect and trying to make them see that you're there to make them better and to help them to keep moving forward and get to the big leagues is what the key of transitioning from a player to a coach.
What was it like whenever you got the job as the pitching coach?
It was good because since I was a pitcher, I always watch the game in a certain way where I can learn and I can take the most out of it. So for me, it was easier to give information to our guys and to help them, to guide them through their career and through their outings as pitchers. And that's always been my passion, to help people and mostly in pitching.
What was it like from going from being a pitching coach to now working as a developmental coach?
So that was actually one of my first jobs. I didn't go from being a pitcher to being a pitching coach straight. I went to being a development coach. And what that is more like a technology coach. So what we did back in the day was to translate or be the bridge between performance science, which is biomechanical stuff and more complex. We were the bridge from that to the on-field coaches. So all about, you know, biomechanics and everything measured in degrees and sabermetrics mostly. We will translate to the on-field coaches so they can apply it directly on the players.
What are some of your accomplishments so far?
Um, I have gotten to work with legends that have played the game, and one of our current one is Clayton Kershaw. I've gotten to be around him, and he's a great person. He's a very noticeable player, one of the best of this era. I've also gotten to be around Orel Scheiser, Tommy Lasorda. And to me, that has been the best part of it. And for me, my greatest accomplishment, because I never thought being from South America, I never thought I was going to be around them. I never thought it was going to be at Dodger Stadium one day. And I've gotten to have those experiences with Los Angeles Dodgers.
What is it like working for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and being in Dodger Stadium?
That's a dream come true. It's something that has been amazing for me, and it's an honor, of course. First of all, it's an honor because of all the background that this organization has. It has history. It's been really important to the world of baseball and sports. And to me, it's an honor to be a part of that organization and be a part of great people, because that's what we do. We form good human beings. And that's what I admire the most from this organization, that we care more about the person and then the player and then the coach.
What was it like on the minor league level, seeing that the big leagues won the World Series this past year?
It's great for everybody in the organization, because we all put a little bit in towards the team winning the World Series. We touch and we work with all the players that go there to help the big team to win, like Victor Gonzalez, all the young guys, Dennis Santana, DJ Peters, the ones that are right now, Gavin Lux. We've worked with them through their minor league careers, and we've helped them become what they've become. So that's exciting for everybody. It's a great accomplishment. It's something that we didn't see for a lot of years, and getting to win it once again it's great. And mostly in a year that was difficult for everybody in the world. So it's a great accomplishment for the organization and for everybody that's in it.
What is the process when a player gets called up to the major league level?
It's so whenever there's a need for somebody and that player is ready to take the next step, it's a party for everybody, including the player, including their families, including the organization, because that's our main goal, to get everybody to the big leagues. So the process is, you get the player to a level where they're ready to face the challenges that they're going to face at the big leagues. And when that happens, and you have a spot in the roster, they get called up. So it could be sudden, it could be something planned out, but it all depends on what the player is doing at that current moment and what he's done in the past. So we can make the decision that he's ready to go to the big leagues.
What is the process when players like, for example, Mookie Betts, let's say if he gets hurt, does he come down to y'all to rehab and train before he goes back up to, of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Yeah, if somebody, not just Mookie Betts, but if somebody gets injured, and depending on the seriousness of the injury, they go back to our facility in Arizona, our spring training facility, and they rehab over there, and they get ready to go back to action. Sometimes they get sent to play to AA or AAA because it's a higher level of competition, so they can take reps as needed that are more accordingly to the major league level, and then they get sent back to the major league club.
What is it like for players that are in the major league level to be around the people in the minor league levels to help them, mentor them, to tell them that they can make it, of course, up to the major leagues?
They love it. A lot of major leaguers love to come back down and to share with the young players, to share with the minor league coaches, and we have their support and on everything. They even like buy the whole team meals. They give talks to the young players. They encourage them. They motivate them. They teach them a lot of stuff, and some of them even take certain players under their wings. And that's very special to watch, because you're seeing somebody that went through that whole process come back to it and understand what the other player is going through as well.
What is a day in the life of a pitching coach on the minor league level?
It's fun. It's really fun, and it's tough at the same time, because people might think that the coach is very different from the player, but the coach does the same thing as the player does. If the player gets there at 4 in the afternoon, the coach is there by 1 or by noon. If the player finished the game at 10 p.m. and then he's got to leave at 11, well, the coach has to be there until midnight, getting the reports done, making sure everything is all right, making the plan for the next day. We travel a lot. You get on buses. You live in hotels. It's a fun trip, but it's worth it because you get to connect with players at a different level that's not only baseball.
Of course, with the traveling a lot, how have you been able to balance work life and family life?
That's a really good question, actually. In my personal case, it's difficult. It's difficult to have a normal life or a life outside of baseball when you're in pro baseball because it takes so much of your time and you have to be 100% dedicated to what you're doing. You're away from your family, you're away from your loved ones, and you're never in one spot. You could be traveling from one state to the other, from one city to the other for 6 months at a time. So it's really difficult, but in a certain way, we go out, you know, with the staff. We share outside of the field, which makes it a little bit more easygoing, so we don't get all crazy.
Who are some of the teams that you play on the minor league level?
We play all of them depending on the league that we're at. So they're divided by conference, the East Conference, the Central Conference, the West Conference. But most of our teams are on the West and the Central because it's closer to the West Coast.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before becoming a pitching coach?
Oh wow, a lot of things, many things. I didn't know anything about pro baseball until I became a coach. I didn't know much about the game. I really didn't pay much attention to learning about the game when I was a player. And now that I'm a coach, I see things that as a player I didn't see. And I've learned so much, so much that I don't even know what to tell you right now. But one of the things that has been like the most impactful in my career as a coach is that we see players for what they can show, not for what they can do on the field, not for like performance. Sometimes we think that players that perform well are the ones that are good, but as the levels keep getting harder and harder, you don't know if that performance is going to go well if they don't have something special. So that's what I've learned the most to see. When a guy has something special that can be developed, that he would use in the big leagues.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before transitioning over to being a coach versus a player?
I didn't know all the rules of the game, that's for sure. And nowadays they've changed so many rules. But when you're a player, you leave all that to the manager and the pitching coach. So now I've learned about the rules of the game. I've learned about more of the feel of the game. Back then, I didn't understand why they would take me out of the second inning with 50 pitches or 45 pitches. But then I understood that if a pitcher is struggling to get the outs, he has a pitch limit and you cannot go over that. So there are certain things that I've learned from when I was a player and now that I'm a coach.
On average, how long does a pitcher have for his limits before he gets out?
It depends. So for relievers, normally they're going to throw 1 or 2 innings in a game. So you want them to be about 40 or 45 pitches. And for a starter, if it's fully developed, you want to take him 80, 90, or 100 pitches. Let's say a big league starter. If you got a minor league starter that has not play that much, you want to take care of the arms, you want to save the arms, you don't want him to get injured. So you take him about 65, 70 pitches.
What advice would you give somebody looking to work in the minor league level?
The first thing I would tell you, and I would tell everybody out there that's trying to coach in the pros, is that nowadays, nobody needs to play baseball like as a pro or play baseball at all to be a good coach. Nowadays, we have so many tools and we have so many ways to understand the game and understand all of the things that we can help people out with, that we don't need to play baseball to be a coach. Nevertheless, it's also important to make relationships with people. If you meet somebody that has been into organized baseball before, it's good that you make a relationship with him, because here it's all about relationships. If you know somebody, if you've met somebody, if you've shared with somebody, that person can put you in a good spot to coach. But from there, you take on the job and you show if you're going to be a good coach or not. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes coaches are very close-minded to what other people have to say, or when they're choked, when they don't know what to do with a player, they don't like to go out to ask for advice to somebody else because they think they know it all. And that has happened to all of us. That's a common thing about coaches, and it happens to me too. And it's good to ask for help, because 4 eyes are better than 2. And there are a lot of things that other people see that we don't. The other advice I would give them is to connect with players at a different level. It's more important to earn the trust of the player than to tell them what to do. Sometimes you give him a little cue about something, and if he trusts you and if he believes in you, he'll make it happen and he'll make a big adjustment. Sometimes we want to impose our knowledge over players, but we have not taken the time to understand who they are, which is more important than the game of baseball itself.
That's great advice. What advice would you give somebody looking to transition from being a baseball player to now a coach and coaching in baseball on different levels?
The first thing I'll tell them is to forget that they're players, to believe and firmly think that they don't play anymore, because that takes the focus out of yourself. To be a coach on every sport, on every level, is like being a teacher. You need to worry and care about the other person. You need to care about the players more than yourself, because we're all here to make them better. If players wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have a job. So the first thing you got to understand when you're transitioning from a player to a coach is that you don't play anymore, and that now the focus is on the player and not on you. That would be my first and big advice.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
You can only find me on LinkedIn, Andres Urbina, and that's it, because I got nothing else.
Thank you again, Andres Urbina, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Los Angeles Dodgers on the minor league level.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at @talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Andres, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.